Are sellers finally catching on to McLean? Inventory has been dropping significantly and prices as a result have gone up slightly. Let's unpack October data and see what it really means here in McLean for October 2025. I'm Eric Fafoglia and I'm with Corcoran. I help buyers and sellers make confident and education-first decisions using my 208-step selling process and my 128-step buying process. All right, let's jump into the data. So prices jumped up 14% versus last month. Although they're still about flat year over year, they jumped up to 1.285 million for October. I'll get into why here in just a minute. But despite that gain, sellers are still getting less than asking price. 95.9% of their original list price is what sellers are typically achieving, the median data shows. Okay, inventory, like I said earlier, was dropping. And so as a result, in September, it took 25 days on average to sell a house. In October, it dropped to 14 days. So big shift downwards. Houses are selling in about 2 weeks. Fall market generally is like the second wind of the year for real estate sales. And so it's proving true for McLean this year. Just 74 homes came to the market. That was down, like I said, at 21%. That's a big drop compared to last month. And then active inventory. This is the crazy one, down 9% month over month. So 305 active homes for sale, but that's down 25% year over year, meaning there were over 400 houses for sale in McLean at this month, same time last year. So as you can see, based off my past videos I've shot and data I've talked about for McLean, we've been seeing this like buyer's market and now starting to hit the brakes, and sellers are smartening up and realizing, hey, we're not gonna get what we are hoping for. So we either need to price smarter, which is the right move, but if you don't have to sell, then maybe they're deciding, let's pull off and let's wait until next year. So closed sales for the month of October matched that of September. We had 69 sales in total, and that was about 6% more than last year. Month supply sitting similar to Great Falls market that I also talk about, 5.2 months of inventory on the market. So we're kind of still leaning towards a buyer's market. Does it necessarily mean with all this data that prices have really dropped this much in McLean? No, our sample size is really too small. And over summer, we saw prices drop, but it's likely because some of these bigger sales haven't been happening like they usually do in McLean. So some of the lower price sales are maybe the ones that are actually transacting, the people that actually need to move. So we're not seeing these downsizers move from their forever home down into a condo or a townhome or just smaller detached single family. It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens for winter. The rest of the markets I cover are starting to see things slow down, but like I showed you here in McLean data, prices are up, inventory is going down, which is typical. People pull their houses off the market for the holiday season. We should expect it to be slow, but we'll see if the prices stay high or if they continue to go back down like they have been so far this year. Not expecting much in the way of mortgage rates to change this year. The Fed data, which a lot of people and of course, all the economic gurus really follow. The last Fed meeting is in December, but what they've been really focused on is labor data, and they're not gonna have labor data from November until a few days after the Fed meeting ends in December. And since they didn't get data from the government shutdown in October, we're expecting that they probably aren't gonna make any massive moves unless inflation really is crazy, and maybe that changes their tune a little bit. But we fully expect things to just kind of stay still. I know mortgage rates and the Fed rate are not directly correlated, but of course, the sentiment of the Fed really does drive the treasury market, which then affects the mortgage rates. All right, so if you're thinking about selling or buying in the near future, you need to start planning for it well ahead of time. I love when people come to me a year out. Like, let's start talking about it well in advance instead of trying to rush and cram it all into a few month period. And so if you want to talk about how all these numbers and the market and the future kind of looks for you and your purchase or sale, just reach out. I'm always happy to help and set up a meeting. But thanks again for watching. This has been Eric Fafoglia with Foundation Report, and I'll see you next month.